Good afternoon and welcome to Hanging by a Thin Thread. I'm Shelley from the Kansas City area, and today I am here to focus on my completed flock vest by Andrea Mowry. That's the first thing I'll be talking about and giving you some details. I did complete this vest, and I want to tell you a little bit about what I liked and what changes I might make in the future were I to make it again. And then I'm going to be moving on to talking about my Stashbuster Duster, which is a work in progress. And I'm really enjoying making that. That is a de-stash project. So if any of you are trying to get rid of yarn and use your stash, that might be a good project to consider. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Then we'll talk a little bit about my Shorty socks in progress by Summer Lee. And finally, we will go into, speaking of Summer Lee, we will go into the Summer Lee Sock Obsession book. I'll give you a review and show you some of the designs in the book that I'm really eager to make. So that's the broad summary. And if any of you want to go to the timestamp below, you can go to where I talk about each of those things. So to begin with, this is episode 58, if I didn't say that already. And I'd like to welcome you, those of you that are new to my channel, you certainly are welcome here. Today's focus is mainly going to be on knitting and spinning. And so anyway, let's get started by talking about what I completed, what I'm wearing, the flock vest by Andrea Mowry. This was a knit-along that she is doing from May 15th to July 16th. So an 8-week time span. I like her knit-alongs because she always gives you plenty of time to jump in and participate. For me, I did this particular vest from May 15th and exactly 1 month, June 15th, it took me to complete the whole thing, including the finishing, like the ribbing and the buttons and weaving in the ends. So all in all, it was exactly 4 weeks, which for me is a fairly fast turnaround on a sweater. But since it's a vest, you don't have the sleeves, so it's a little bit of a cheat on that. But if you want a fast project still to do, you could even finish it. If you started, right away by the 4th of July weekend, you could have it finished in a couple of weeks if you're a particularly fast knitter. And you could also make it in a variety of materials. I did mine in an alpaca, which I'll talk about in just a moment, that I got on sale from my local yarn store. So this is more of a fall weight jacket or vest. But since I'm going to be wearing it when I attend Fiber U in a couple of weeks, this will come in very handy because they keep their center where they hold it inside. The Roger Cowan Center is kept very chilly. So they always advise you to wear a warm sweater. So this will be right in line with their temperature there. But it is alpaca, and I'm going to start by telling you what I did, what I used. Better get my glasses on. The main yarn that I used is this DK alpaca paint, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes below. This is a mixture of kind of a gray, a taupe color, and a ruddy brownish red. And the color is called taupe. It's a very lightly variegated yarn. I like the variegation because it's subtle. It doesn't have really, strong striping, but it's just a very subtle blend of those 3 colors. And with that, I used this kind of burgundy red, which is a Lion brand. This is Lion brand 1878. I want to make sure I'm always saying it. Yeah, LB 1878. I love using coned yarn. I'm really getting into that lately. And this is a coned yarn that I was able to get at my local yarn store. But Lion Brand has a lot of these things on their website. And like I said, I'm really getting into using coned yarn. This particular one is a fingering weight. And my project is a DK weight. So like my alpaca yarn I'm using is DK. So I hold 1 strand of it. And that is color A, the main color. For this striping effect, I hold 2 of these together. And I do actually have 2 cones. But the cone is really, it has 2,045 yards on it. Yeah, 2,045 yards, and it is rated as fine. So the color is claret that I'm using, color 143. But I very much enjoyed that. And then the gray that I'm using is a West Yorkshire Spinner's yarn. It's a sock yarn, actually. And it contains 35 Blueface Leicester. It also contains 25% nylon, and it has a little bit of cotton. So it's a signature 4-ply, and I like this also, especially when using alpaca, because between the 100% wool that I'm using with the Lion Brand wool there and the different yarns I'm using, it supports that alpaca, and I believe it's what has kept it from stretching. I've worn this already several times because we were having a cooler weather snap here, but now we're back into the full heat of summer. So I really enjoyed wearing this, and I blocked it, but it did not stretch. It's a good, having the ribbing. I'm going to stand up a little bit so you can see, where it falls. I chose to make, you can make the cropped version or the full longer version, tunic length. I chose to make kind of a settle between the cropped and the full version. I ended up actually ripping back a couple of inches because I was going for the full version, but I felt it was just a little bit too long for my taste. So that's what I did. But, I ended up with kind of an in-between. But you can do whatever you want. Next time, if I were to make this in a cotton, and I might make it again in the future, I might make it in a cotton and have a little bit more bold stripe. For this particular fallish vest, I like the subtle striping. But if you go on the Ravelry group, on Andrea Renee Knits is her group on Ravelry, where the knit along is progressing, you might want to look on there at all the different color combinations and yarns that people used. But I think a DK is a good starting point for a weight of yarn. But if you do use a fingering, you certainly can combine two of the fingering. And that's what I use. The Lion Brand is what I use all around the edging on the ribbing and on the bottom. So anyway, I like the way I did it. I'm happy with the results. I haven't found a good blouse to wear with it yet. This blouse is it's a gray color, but I kind of would like to see if a taupier color might look better. I don't know. The only thing I would do differently on the next time I make it is I would shorten these arm holes a little bit. If I were to make this again, and definitely if I were to want to wear it as a tank top, as some people do, then and Andrea Mowry herself wears it as a tank top, I would definitely want to shorten this armhole. And I think the reason mine came out so long is I'm really short-waisted. And so I wrote to the Andrea Mowry design team to ask about how I might go about shortening it for future vests. And I said, would I just be wanting to do less increases or do the increases faster and not go as many rows on the increases so that the armhole would be shorter. And they wrote back to me right away and said, that is correct. You would need to modify the fronts and back to complete the increases at the neckline edge and each armhole edge to achieve your target stitch count at your desired length. All the best. So, in other words, I still need that number of stitches for it to fit in my body, which it does. I like the way the body fits. I did a size 5. So I want to be sure I still reach that number of stitches so I can accommodate my body size. Especially my chest size. But in order to make this shorter, I would just do less increases. And the way that Andrea has the pattern written up is you have a few of these charts. I don't believe she normally does this, but in this pattern, this may be something new she'll do because it was very popular. What she does is have, by chart, I mean a rundown of each row, how many stitches you should have, are you doing an increase, and so forth. What color are you using, the A, B, or C color? And the A is your main color, your B is your outer stripe, and in the middle of it is your inner stripe. For me, that's the gray color. And so she has these charts that make it really easy to follow and just check off as you go to make sure you have the right number of increases, decreases, color that you're on, and so forth. And is it an increase row or not? So that chart makes the pattern really easy to follow. The pattern has been very well tested. And if you start making it by now, you're going to see a lot of other people going in ahead of you and giving suggestions of all different kinds of suggestions. So I think that this is an excellent vest to make, and especially if you're looking for a striped vest. She even tells you how you go about changing colors so that you don't waste extra yarn. Like, you don't cut off each yarn as you change colors. You carry them along the side. And she tells you sometimes you're going to be sliding your stitches so that you're on the correct side that you need to be on. And anyway, all the way around, she just gives you that guidance with the charts. So I found that extremely helpful. And so the flock vest is a win, in my opinion, and I'm really glad I made it. I look forward to wearing this to Fiber U. Next up is a work in progress. I actually started this Stashbuster Duster by Park Williams. I actually started this right before getting cast on for my flock vest. But because I wanted to stay on target with the flock vest, I put this aside for a while. I had already finished on the left panel about half of the panel, and I'm going to put up a picture of where it was I was on my panel after blocking that first panel, the left panel. And now I have started on my right panel. And so what I'm doing is just using my stash yarns. This is a really good Stashbuster project, and it was designed for that purpose. Right next up, I'm going to be combining this brown and bronze color. But you use different weights of yarn depending on as your stash. Like if I have 2 sock weights or a lace weight, I'm going to combine it with a heavier yarn. This is a DK weight combined with kind of a DK to worsted weight. So all in all, my project is coming out at, I would say, almost a bulky weight. And there's a little bit of wavering here, as you see. There's a little bit of waves or undulation in the way the fabric is laying right now. And the first panel had the same issue because you're using different weights of yarn, and no matter how you try, it does kind of come out a little bit differently as you change yarns. But what I found was that when I blocked that first panel, it ended up all evening out. So I did wash it, give it a wet block, and pen it out on a sheet in my office, and it all evened out and was beautiful. It did grow maybe, let's see, it went from 35 inches in length to 39 inches, which is actually good because that's about where it needs to be for me being a shorter person. So for me, 39 inches is good. For if you're taller, obviously you need it to be longer because this duster falls below your knee. A lot of people, it falls at their mid-calf. So anyway, it's going to be a long, nice vest. I'm really excited for this. It reminds me of a sweater that I had in college. At the time, I wasn't a knitter. And so I bought a sweater from where I worked at a clothing store, and it was a really long sweater coat. I wore that thing I almost wore it out. I loved it. It was just, it had sleeves, whereas this one doesn't. But it was so comfy. I would toss it on and wear it often in lieu of a coat, depending on the weather outside. And so I just wore that thing to death. It was kind of a camely or beigey color. And it was very neutral, so I would wear it with all kinds of things. Obviously now I'm not making a neutral. I'm doing some of my favorite colors. And these are the ones I have the most in my stash. You know, the fuchsias, the purples, the pinks, the hot pink, those, and the browns, coppers. That's what I have a lot of in my stash because that's some of my favorite colors. So, and it's also a lot of what I use in my penguano. But I have so much stash yarn in those colors that I'm going to have plenty to make this Stashbuster Duster. But I'm really happy about the process of doing this. It's so relaxing and fun. It's like playing with color and playing with yarn. And every now and then I throw a lifeline in so that if I end up with a color combination I end up not liking, then I can take it out more easily because some of these fibers and yarns do stick together since a lot of them are art yarn and sticky yarns and mohair and, you know, ribbon yarn and that kind of stuff. It's kind of hard to rip out, even though you're just doing basically straight stockinette with some side ribbing. And I love doing this project. Now, another thing I'm doing in changing this up, we'll see if it works or not, but Park has designed it so that you end up, after starting the 3 different panels, fairly quickly on, you put them all 3 onto one needle, all 3 panels. And for me, since I have some wrist arthritis in my right hand, I don't want to carry that weight of all those panels and the awkwardness. So I wrote to her and asked, is it okay if I just knit them separately and then sew them up together on the sides when I'm ready to put them together? And she said, certainly you can do that. She was just trying to avoid people having to seam up the, you know, the sides, because a lot of people don't like to do seaming. But I really don't mind that. So for me, that's not going to be a problem. I'd rather do that than carry along some heavy weight of fabric as I'm knitting. And you also do end up with a lot of ends because you are changing yarn fairly frequently. And so I don't mind doing the yarn weaving on the ends either. Normally, I do them as I go. But in this case, I wanted to keep those out so that I could remember what yarns I used. And I put actually yarn samples. This is from the first panel. So that way I can try to kind of have a similar color story going along on both panels. It's not going to be exact because sometimes, because it's stash yarn, I might run out of one yarn, or I might not describe it well enough to find it again. Like there's a couple of these I know I can't find. I don't know what I did after I did the first panel. I've already misplaced a couple of them. But I have 3 bags of stash yarn that I am using and pulling from. So a lot of this project I'm doing while sitting at home in front of my TV or watching YouTube videos. So it's been a really fun project so far. And I want to also throw in a shot here of not only have I enjoyed making this, but my dog Ruby, who loves yarn. I know mostly cats are guilty of grabbing the yarn, but in this case, my dog Ruby, who is part Chihuahua, part Rat Terrier, she loves finding my yarn and playing with it. And so I'm going to put in a picture here. This is just one time of many that she has gotten into my bags of yarn stash as I'm making this vest in particular. She is loving taking this art yarn, which is really hard to untangle, as you might imagine. She's absolutely loved tearing it apart and getting dog spit all over it and everything. So I've had to, you know, try to keep that office door closed where I work on it and really watch her to prevent her from doing some stash diving of her own. Do you have any pets, cat or dog or anything else, that tend to get into your yarn or get in the middle of your yarny pursuits? I definitely do. So I have to watch her. Another thing that I've been working on that's currently in progress is my Shorty socks. And I'm following a free pattern by Summer Lee for her Shorty socks. This is a heel flap and gusset that I'm doing on mine because this is my preferred heel method. And because they're shorties, I'm almost, I'm halfway down the foot already, and I just started these recently. But the yarn I'm using, I like. It's pretty big and soft and puffy. It has nylon in it. And the name of it is Footsie by King Cole. And let's see, I have to look at the color I'm using. It's got pinks and yellows and greens. It's called Dragon Fruit, very appropriately named. And one thing I like about it, you can see on the toe or the heel, is that it's got a lot of this white and black in the heel area. And so that makes a fun contrast with the more pinkish areas striping that I have in it. So I like that black and white mixed in with the strong pink colors. And I think this is going to be a really fun sock. I look forward to it because I don't have a lot of shorty socks anymore, and I like to wear them with sandals, particularly if it's a cold. I wear them with tennis shoes also. year round, but I like to wear them particularly in a place like Fiber U where it's going to be chilly. That way I can wear my sandals and show off my socks at the same time. Next up is my Tour De Fleece, which will be starting. The Tour De Fleece starts July 4th, on the 4th of July holiday. And since I'm not a big July 4th person, I'm not big into firecrackers and that kind of thing, and we don't have any 4th of July parties planned that I know of right now, I'm going to be probably staying at home and avoiding the noise. Maybe I'll have to get some noise-canceling headphones. And anyway, I don't think Ruby likes the noise either. So anyway, I'm going to probably be at home working on Tour De Fleece, the first day of Tour De Fleece. I participate in this almost every year. And the thing about it is each time I do it, I like to have a project in mind. So this time, before I begin, I've been working on finishing up what's already on my spinning wheel. This is some Christmas yarn. I haven't been very productive in spinning lately. I have 3 of these bobbins of Christmassy yarn, and I'm going to ply them together with this silver metallic to make a 2-ply. I don't know yet exactly what Christmas project I'm going to do with that yarn yet, but I really like the yarn and I'm eager to see how it turns out when it's plied with the silver. I think that'll look really festive. So that's the first thing I'm doing right now, is to get ready for Tour De Fleece, which is coming right up in a week. And so I want to get that yarn off of my spinning wheel. And the 2 wheels I'm going to use this year, I'm going to use my Shacked Matchless, which is behind me here. You can't really see it, but my Shacked Matchless, and my Oscar, which is an EEW 6 Dreaming Robots electric wheel. And I always use my Dreaming Robots, almost always, for plying. And I also use it a lot for more production spinning. So I'll probably be using it a lot with Tour De Fleece. And I now do have I had some Shetland on the bobbins earlier a few weeks ago, and I did get that off the bobbins and plied together. So now I'm just doing this last spinning project before I before I start spinning this beautiful Eye of Newt, which is I believe this is Shetland. I think it's maybe a Shetland DFL combination. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. I'll let you know next time. But it's a joy to spin. And this is one of the rescue fleeces that Angry Sheepdog is a vendor that will be at Fiber U. And I bought this last fall at Ozark Fiber Flame. So I'm going to be really excited to shop once again when I go to Fiber U to find out what other fibers they have in store for me. But I want to first get some of this spun up. And I've just done a little test spin of it, but I think it's going to be beautiful. And what I'm going to spin also with it, or along with it, to combine with it, is this lovely, oh my gosh, this is so soft. This is like a cloud. And I do know this is Shetland. Yeah. This is a wonderfully soft brownie gray Shetland. It's kind of that taupey color. It's absolutely beautiful. One thing I love about Shetland fiber is that it comes in like 10 different shades. And I just love spinning a good quality Shetland. So that's going to be really exciting to do that. But what I'm going to be trying to make is a vest. My intention is to spin enough for a vest. If I get it done during the 20 days or 20-something days of Fiber U, that'll be great. But if I don't get it all done, at least it'll get me started and incentivized to get started on making a wool vest for fall is my intention. And I'm going to be, instead of knitting this vest, I'm going to be weaving it on my rigid heddle loom. And so I will be on the rigid heddle making the fabric and eventually sewing the vest. I won't get all this done, of course. I'll be lucky if I just get some of the yarn spun during Tour De Fleece for the vest. But hopefully I'll be working on this quite a bit in the fall. And it could be a project that could come together by the end of fall if I really focus on it and work on it. But I've missed doing my handmade garments. I haven't done any woven garments in a while. In fact, I haven't woven anything in a while. So I'm very motivated to get out my larger 20 5-inch or 6-inch rigid heddle loom, and I'm really eager to get back onto that loom and, weaving some hand spun fiber would be really inspiring. So I'm excited to do that. What are you going to be spinning during Tour De Fleece? If you're a spinner, are you going to be participating, or are you going to sit this one out? And if you are doing Tour De Fleece, let me know what your goal is. Mine is simply to try to get to the wheel most days. If I can even spend 10 minutes a day, for me, that is a big success, because there's so many days I intend to spin, and then I end up, something else gets in my way. But spinning is definitely the most relaxing thing I do. It's so relaxing and enjoyable. So I definitely want to recommit myself to my spinning during this Tour De Fleece. The last thing I want to cover today is I've been watching, while I'm doing that Stashbuster Duster, I sit a lot of times in my office in front of my computer watching Summer Lee YouTube videos, among others. Summer Lee is one of the ones I really enjoy watching. And she, as you know, originally, or you may know, originally wrote the Sock Project book. And I bought that book right away, and I loved learning. It's one more basic book for newer sock knitters. But she had several different methods of sock making in there, and she did have a few patterns. But, honestly, since I have been knitting socks for over 20 years, this book didn't have, as much immediate interest to me in jumping in and doing them, because, again, I enjoyed reading about her techniques mostly in this book. But her new book, The Sock Obsession, which she put out 6 months ago in January of 2026, I didn't immediately buy it, but after seeing so many projects that people have made from this book, and after hearing her talk again about it recently, I decided, okay, I've got to bite the bullet and actually buy this, especially since I first checked it out at a library. And I found out that of the 25 different sock patterns in it, I was wanting to make almost every one. I mean, there was a huge number of these that I was very interested in making. And so I returned it to the library and went over to my knitting store and went ahead and bought it. Because, again, I think it's one that I will actually make over time. I will make several of these projects. What I really loved is this one spends less time telling you how to make socks. It assumes you know it. And it spends a lot more time giving you specific inspiration in terms of projects and color, as always with Summer Lee. Her sense of color is so contemporary, but so pleasant, and she puts together colors in ways that you would never think of, or at least I wouldn't think of. And my friend Carolyn, when this book, I think even when the other book came out, she went out and bought different colors of sock yarn, because she and I both have small feet. She could buy a little palette of sock yarn and that way have a bunch of different colors that she could use in her sock project. And she and I both have subscribed to the Cuff Club for the last 2 years. And some of those socks, I've made a few of them, not very many, a couple of them. But honestly, I enjoy more watching Carolyn, who's a fast knitter, knit up the colors, or the Cuff Club, different ones. And each of us made some of the other sock patterns as well. Like my favorite sock pattern of all time of hers is the Comfort Core sock. It fits so well. I made one pair of that, and that's not in the sock books, by the way. But if you want an athletic, really comfortable fitting sock, the Comfort Core sock, I just can't speak highly enough. I would like to make several pairs of those. But let's talk about the Sock Obsession book. Again, I'm very happy with this book. She starts off, she has them in chapters. I think there's 5 major chapters. The first one is traditional socks. Then she goes into modern art socks, because she's a real art lover. Then she goes into section 3, everyday socks. Section 4, whimsical socks. That's my very favorite chapter. And then she goes into, at the end, summer's signature socks. But let me just show you. I'm not going to go into the whole book, but I want to show you the ones I just can't. I wish I could knit fast so I could start making these right away. This one is the Latvian Roses. I hope you can see it. It's the Latvian Rose socks. I absolutely love those. And I love the Aran sweater socks. I'm not a big cable knitting person, and I don't know if you can see this on here, but the main part of the foot does have cables and then striping at the top. Striping is always a signature of Summer Lee's. But I love those Aran sweater socks, and it's very tempting for me to make those. I also like for spring the Bloom Quest socks. Those colors are amazing for spring. And with me being a pink and green person, wow, that's just amazing. The studio socks have to be my number one. I got to get these things cast on in exactly those colors. That beautiful green and the aqua and the black and white on the toe are just amazing. I would never have thought of that color combination. And since it's a lace sock on the main body, that is doable for me. Whereas the cables might be more of a challenge. I've only done cables a few times, and mostly on just hats and little mitts. I'm not a big cable lover. So for me, that's not a pleasure to do cables. But a little bit of cabling I can stand. Here's the impressionistic socks. I love these because I have a lot of variegated yarns in my stash. And I would love to do a project like that where, where it takes advantage of that. And those impressionistic socks are not exactly cable. It's like a mock cable, but it gives good interest. I love these Sheep Festival socks. I wish I had those knitted to wear to the Sheep Festival I'm going to in mid-July. But those are darling. Any time of year I would wear those. I love those. And here is something that really I love. The French coat socks. That's my level of cabling I would be able to do. The very top cuff of the sock is cabled. The rest is just striped. So I think I could actually handle that. That's exciting. I could do that. And that's all I'll show you for now. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but there are very few patterns in here that I wouldn't want to do. They're all so darling. And I'm really excited that I did buy the book, and I want to get started on these. I just love it. And watching the Summer Lee YouTube has just fired me up for doing socks. That's all for today. I've enjoyed catching up with you again and for showing you my completed vest, which I'm really happy with. I think this is definitely a win for me and something I'll be wearing, particularly this fall once it gets cooler. But anyway, I hope that you are working on some projects that are bringing you enjoyment as well. And always remember what I say each time. Love what you're making and wear what you make. Till next time, goodbye, everybody.